Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Earwax. It's Colin, and today we're going to be doing a review of the brand new album from Australian psych rockers King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Phantom Island. Now, this is the 27th full-length LP from prolific Australian rockers King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, and yeah, it's been about a year since their last album, which is usually like the longest wait that we ever have to wait for a new King Gizzard album. I mean, they released 5 albums in 2017, 3 in 2023 October. I know it was October. It was either 2022 or 2023. But yeah, they just keep on going. Apparently, this was recorded around the same time as their last album, B741, and it does feel like narratively a continuation of that album. Even on the album artwork, which I'll show in a second here, you see the plane from that album like crash into Phantom Island. The pigs are on that plane kind of walking up and down. So it definitely seems like they kind of are making this not necessarily a part two, but like a continuation of that story. Lyrically, there's a lot of themes on this album of like death and rebirth and escape. And like, if you've watched enough of my videos, I don't get super into lyrics, but definitely go, like, if you listen to this album, you like this album, check out the lyrics. They're worth kind of diving into. I think some of them are a little like too metaphysical for their own good, but overall, like, kind of what you're going to be getting lyrically on a King Gizzard album. They're going to be fun. They're going to be a little out there. They're going to make you think a little bit. So yeah, I think this definitely takes from some of the themes of the previous album and expands on them here. Now, you will notice that I do have this in a plastic exterior sleeve. At least the last like 8 or 9 records that I've ordered through them have come with their own exterior sleeve, which I really appreciate. It's printed, it's patterned. The only reason I have this one in an additional plastic exterior sleeve is the packaging and everything that came with the physical release was too thick to actually like slide the record in. I like to keep my records, separate from the jacket. That way I can actually just pull them out and not continue to mess with the jacket itself and like risk any, tear or wear over the years. I did have to put this in like a separate plastic one. So before we talk about the music itself, let's dive into this release. So I'm going to take it all out of the plastic here, and then I'll put it back later. We'll start with the packaging. So again, like I said, pretty much every King Gizzard record recently has come with this cardboard kind of like an exterior sleeve, which I do appreciate. They're putting, just that much extra attention and effort to make sure that like the product that you're buying from them is protected and is going to stay like high quality for life. And I think that's really cool. Like that's just a little extra attention to detail that I really appreciate whenever an artist like puts that effort in. Then we go ahead and open this up and we'll see the actual album artwork and the record itself. So we'll go ahead and put this to the side. And that is going to be this. So again, I love this artwork. I don't necessarily think it captures the spirit or the essence of the album super well. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when we get into the music. But again, you've got like the plane from B741 right up here, the pigs kind of coming down, and then like other characters from their just like mythos scattered throughout playing all these instruments. You've got some rats, you've got some fish, you've got some crocodiles, some alligators, you've got some more fish and some horses up there. But yeah, I love the kind of the chaos of this, the eeriness of this. I think it is really, really cool artwork. Pretty much any album you get from them is going to have really impressive artwork on it. On the back, you've got some studio session photos of the band. Interesting, you don't, outside of this one photo down here, you don't get much as far as like the actual like orchestra that they used for this album. So if I don't think I've mentioned that yet. This was like an orchestral album, so they hired a full orchestra to perform on the album with them, and I'll talk about that more when we get into the actual like music breakdown. But yeah, this is it's well done. I like the inner sleeves. I know it's very simple, very minimalist, but it looks really well. Then you've got this, which is sorry. Before we get into that, here's the actual like inner sleeve that it came in. I've transferred it to a better just static free inner sleeve, but Then it comes with this, and I gotta say, like, King Gizzard always knocks it out of the park when it comes to inserts or posters or stuff like that. This is a poster that came, and now technically I did get like the deluxe edition, I guess. I didn't know if they had another edition to order, but yeah, let me back up a little bit here. It's just a massive poster. Then on the other side, you've got like the album artwork. Like, excuse me. These guys pretty much do all their own stuff. Like, they got their own label now. Like, the fact that they're still putting this much effort into their physical releases is just another example of why they're one of my favorite bands currently like going. And honestly, probably one of my favorite bands of all time. I mean, to include this on something that you already got, like deluxe, you know, outer sleeve, the actual record, like the jacket quality is super high quality. It's like this kind of felt matte quality to it. And then just this absolutely massive poster that just, yeah, I mean, I can't speak highly enough about them. Like, they just go above and beyond every single time, and it's just absolutely incredible. So I'm going to go ahead and put this back in real quick. And then the record itself is just a black vinyl. Again, I think this is the only one that they really had available, but it is on recycled, and it's 180 grams, I believe. It's definitely hefty, so I'm pretty sure it's 180. But yeah, just high quality product all around. So my only complaint, and this is a very small complaint, is that they didn't get it to me until yesterday, which was Wednesday. Yeah, I don't generally dock too many points off of a band for not getting me the album by the release date. The only reason I'm a little annoyed is because my estimated shipping did say that it was going to be in by the release date. And then it told me it was going to be Sunday. And then it told me it was going to be Monday. And then I didn't get it till Wednesday. So not a huge deal, but it's just like, you know, just give me an accurate shipping date. That's all I ask. So that's the physical release. Now let's talk about the music itself. Bathing in the cola, black sea boating. So the album opens up with the title track of Phantom Island, and this has a really kind of like jazzy string and horn intro right off the bat. So you know you're going into a more orchestral focused album, which is one of the few like genres they haven't really messed around with at this point. When the vocals do eventually kick in, it kind of settles into a bluesy southern rock jam where the orchestral like horns and strings do complement it very well. They change up vocal duties a lot on not just this song but like throughout the album, kind of continuing the trend from the previous album. It does help keep the song from feeling a little like monotonous throughout certain parts, and then about halfway through there's a tempo change that kind of gives you a little bit of sense of dread that I think leads fairly well into like the bulk of the album. Because after that is Dead Stick. Now, Dead Stick is probably one of the most fun, one of the catchiest songs on the album. The music video that goes along to it is super cool as well. So definitely go check it out if you haven't. And yeah, it's just like, again, a really catchy, groovy Southern rock track with some like incredibly well done guitar parts. The drums here are just super fun and energetic. The whole instrumental background of the orchestra is just adding a lot, especially the horns here. They just come in and really kind of drive the song forward. This song, more than any other one, really feels like a callback to B741, even if the horns are adding an element that that album didn't necessarily have. And then we get into Lonely Cosmos. And Lonely Cosmos might be my favorite song on the album. This one really, truly feels like a orchestral prog rock piece, something you'd find in like the early 70s from bands like Moody Blues or Yes. And yeah, I love this track. The strings work super well right in the beginning. And then like the most prominent orchestral piece you hear throughout is flute or like wind instruments. And it's as someone who absolutely loves when any sort of rock band incorporates flute into their music, I think it just works super, super well. It's a very calming, very kind of trippy prog song, and made me think that maybe this was kind of the direction that the majority of the album was going to go. One of my biggest concerns when I heard that they were doing an orchestral album was that like they were going to go more sort of like big band blues rock, southern rock, and not so much like orchestral prog rock. And don't get me wrong, I love like the southern blues rock that they were doing on the last album, and I knew that this was recorded around the same time, so I figured that might be the case. But hearing this song gave me some hope that maybe they went back into their prog roots, which is something I've really been missing from them. Unfortunately, though, that's not the case. So they definitely leaned heavily into the straight up like southern rock with the next song of Eternal Return. Now, this song kind of throws you through a loop because there's parts of it that are very like late 60s psych pop coded, especially like in the beginning and some of like the vocal passages. But then they change that up and like kind of go back and forth between that and more like of the traditional southern like blues rock with some of like the big band instrumentals. And the song feels very confused. Like if it committed one way or the other to one of those sounds, I think it would have worked a lot better. Not a bad song. There's still parts of it that I do very much enjoy, but I feel like they needed to really commit, and I hope that they would have committed to the more like kind of early 70s, late 60s, like prog psych vibes that I was hoping for. But when they did fully commit on the next song of Pan Psych, they pretty much went straight back into the like the southern rock vibes. Now, there's moments of this song that I do really enjoy. The opening reminds me a little bit of like some mid-era Stones. There's a really cool guitar riff that only lasts for like maybe 10-15 seconds that I wish we got a little bit more of. But it's just after that like a fairly boring song, and I do feel like the all the backing instrumentals from the orchestra definitely make it feel a little busy at parts, and they don't necessarily complement each other super well, but it is still catchy and still a fun song. After that is Space Sick, and this one definitely does have some classic GIZZ vibes, and I think the strings and the horns here really do play off that pretty well. There's moments of it that have like some remnants of like some folk psych or like some folky prog rock. But it definitely also then leans back into that kind of like southern rock feel that they've really just kind of driven home at this point. Luckily, though, the instrumentation, like the backing instrumentation, doesn't feel like it's at odds with the more classic like guitar, bass, drums, keys that you get from a GIZZ song. And yeah, I do think it works fairly well here. And then we get into Aerodynamic, which I don't really have much new to say about this song, or even the next song for that matter. Like it's more of kind of just the same. Like it's good, it's catchy, it's well done. I'm enjoying the album pretty thoroughly at this point. And I've come to terms by this song that like what I'm going to be getting is just like a prog leaning southern rock jam album with some orchestral like big band backing sounds, and that's okay. Like they do it very well. I'm enjoying that they are taking small risks, I guess, like even though it's not that much of a departure in sound from their previous album. Obviously, like the strings and the horns and the wind instruments and everything, it's definitely adding some elements that we haven't gotten before. But it feels a little played out by this point, at least on this song. I'm not getting anything super new that I haven't already heard on this album up until this point. Like I know that they've done prog rock and psych rock to death at this point, and this is them, doing what they always do, which is changing up their sound and trying something new. I miss that aspect of them, and I was hoping for a little bit more of that on this album, but that's okay. After that is Sea of Doubt, and I could pretty much say the exact same thing here as I did for Aerodynamic. These two songs are pretty interchangeable in my mind. Again, neither of them are bad. Like they're both fun, they're catchy. I do enjoy listening to them. But yeah, there's nothing really standing out to me that like separates these tracks from like what we've gotten on the album so far. But then we get to the last two songs, and the first of those is Silent Spirit, and I do like this song. This is probably like the jazziest song we get on the album, especially with the intro. There's moments that feel almost like lounge leaning. But then they kind of incorporate that back into the proggy southern rock that they've been doing. But it does feel different enough that it stands out to me more than the previous two tracks. It has some interesting like falsetto vocals at certain parts that definitely kind of complement the more like jazz centric, jazz fusion direction they're going with the orchestral instrumentation. And it definitely doesn't feel busy like a couple of other songs. Like I do think it blends pretty well. And then we get into the last song of Grow Wings and Fly. And this is probably my second favorite song after Lonely Cosmos. This is just a gorgeous way to end the album. And I'm so glad that they did end the album with this because I feel like so much recently I'm listening to the albums where like kind of slogs a little bit towards the end. But that last track kind of picks it back up and ends on a high note, and they definitely do that here. It starts with this vocal callback to Butterfly 3000, which is one of my favorite albums of theirs in the past, God, what, 5 years now? 5 years, 6 years? I don't even know when it came out. There's too many of them. Yeah, it's really kind of just chill, laid back, groovy, almost like dream pop track. But it's got like the orchestral, the horns and the strings just complemented super well. I know I've said that a lot, but like it just continues to be true on this album. It's very uplifting. It sounds very hopeful and cinematic, and the music video that goes along to this is really cool as well. And yeah, I really loved this song. I think the drums are some of the most dynamic on the album, even if they're not overly complicated. Like they definitely stand out and shine a little bit more on this song than a couple of the other songs. I love the guitar tones that they obtain with this as well. And overall, it's just a super fun song. So yeah, I mean, like any other King Giz album, I'm gonna enjoy it. Like there's a reason they're one of my favorite bands. They just don't put out bad stuff. That being said, I was a little let down by a couple of the tracks. Obviously, you can never dictate the direction a band goes in, but I was hoping for a little bit more here and there. Maybe a little bit more of a callback to their original style, or at least like what made me fall in love with them in the first place. But that being said, it's still a fun album. I've listened to it probably at this point like 6 or 7 times now. Usually I listen to an album about 3 times before I do a review. But because this was so late in getting the vinyl, I listened to it probably about like 4 times before getting it, once getting it, but didn't have time to do the review because I had other stuff going on. And then once tonight, right before doing this. So yeah, I feel pretty strongly about my opinions of it, but let me know down in the comments if you think I'm wrong, if you agree with me, whatever. I'm going to give this album a B+, pretty much the same grade I gave Flight B741. I think they're about the same level for me. While I do love the more pointed and driven sound of B741, I do think that there's some moments on this album that I like more than any of the moments on that album. But both are great. This one's a good album. Go listen to it. And as always, thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace.